Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here. Welcome back to the channel and I hope you're all doing well. This is a follow-up to one of my recent videos where I talked about the Ryzen 3000 XT CPUs and called them pointless. I just wanted to make this video because as you all might know that when you say anything bad about an AMD product, it causes the fanboys to become all riled up and instead of looking at things reasonably, they'll turn a blind eye and attack you regardless. Now, one of the things that often I see people say when someone makes a judgmental statement about a piece of hardware that has yet to be released is, well, you should probably wait for it to come out and then you can say whatever you want. And you know what? That is fair, and I can see where you're coming from. However, that doesn't work for everything all the time, because in this case, we pretty much knew all the details about these new processors. They weren't based on a new architecture, it was still the same Zen 2 architecture that the original 3000 series processors are based on. They weren't fabbed on any new fabrication process, it's still 7 nanometers from TSMC, although having a 1-year gap, the process is considerably more mature, which will result in better quality silicon, which I guess is what prompted AMD to make these processors in the first place. But nothing that would allow for any significant gains in regards to performance. You're not going to see dramatic gaming performance improvements here in gaming or productivity, whatever it might be, and you'll see that in just a moment. Core and thread counts remain the same, the amount of L3 cache remains the same. The only thing that has really changed is the boost clock, and that was really a 100 to 200 megahertz bump depending on the SKU. So with all that information taken into account, it's really easy to gauge the performance of a product like this without really even having to test it, because there's really nothing significantly different there from the products that are already on the market and have gone through thorough testing. Similarly with Intel, it was the same scenario when they launched the 10th gen processors. If you wanted to know how the 10600K was going to perform, you could look at some recent 8700K benchmarks and you'd have a really good idea of how that processor was going to perform. It's the same thing with the 10700K. It was essentially a rebranded 9900K with a clock speed bump. My point here is that when there's upcoming hardware that's going to be released in the near future and all the specs besides maybe frequency changes are the same, then you can generally know how that product will perform. Now, if I had gone ahead and made a blind statement like that about the upcoming Ryzen 4000 CPUs, which are based on an all-new architecture Zen 3, or perhaps say that about an upcoming Ampere-based RTX 3000 GPU, then yeah, that would have been totally foolish because we can't be judgmental about hardware that is based on all new technology, all new features, and we really have no idea of how it's going to perform. But in this case, we knew how those CPUs would perform, and nothing new was added here or changed here besides frequency. So I thought I'd just make that clear, but there were a surprising amount of people who didn't seem to understand that and would rather jump to attacking someone because they said something negative about their favorite corporation. With that said though, let's take a look at some of these benchmarks from some popular review outlets, and you will notice that how they all pretty much share the same story. Here I've gone through just a few benchmarks from very reputable review outlets, and they all show how insignificant the improvement is that the 3000 XT processors have over the original 3000 series CPUs. We're talking literally mere seconds in productivity workloads or 1 or 2 FPS gains in most games. You will absolutely not notice a difference here. Now, if you want to go back and take a look at some more benchmarks, definitely check those sites out. I'll have links down below. But just from a quick look, and you can already tell why nobody is recommending these CPUs, and rightfully so. When the 3000 series came out a year ago, most tech outlets were already recommending the cheaper 6-core and 8-core parts, those being the 3600 and 3700X respectively, as performance was already so close between the higher end models in each segment that it just made sense to save the money and go for the cost-effective options, as you're still getting practically the same performance. So therefore, these CPUs like the 3600 XT, 3800 XT, and 3900 XT just don't make absolutely any sense considering the fact that AMD has decided to price them at the MSRP of the original SKUs, which 2 of the models don't even have a cooler included in them. They just offer horrible value and I can't recommend them, especially when you have deals going on where you can find a 3600 for around 150 US, and I've even seen a 3900X drop below $400. And if you're worried about the silicone lottery, just know that it's really not worth it to pay the extra $100, as manual overclocking hardly improves performance, and I've shown that in the past. Also, just know that yield and process maturity will probably lead to better silicon quality, on the original SKUs anyway. I've seen quite a number of posts on the AMD subreddit and the overclocking subreddit and overclock.net about people who have purchased a Ryzen 5 3600, for example, and were able to overclock it to 4.4 or 4.5 gigahertz, which with much lower voltages, relatively compared to people who had purchased these CPUs near launch. So again, why bother with the XT? Anyways, just thought I'd make this video about the CPUs and finally give my thoughts on them, since so many people were saying to wait until they're out. Well, they're out now, and everything that was pretty much said came true. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts down below. Check out the video description for ways to support the channel, and if you're interested in more content like this, then make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.